Hi, my name is Sadie, and I wanted to make this video because I saw another girl's video, um, and I'll probably title it something similar, but she had used one of my comments from a message board about the copper IUD, and in her video, and she said that it helped her figure out and make the connection between her symptoms and what was going on. So I want to make this video and just like give a brief overview of what happened to me with the copper IUD and just kind of put it out there. I was thinking of making a blog post, but I kind of just think this is better because this girl did a video and I really I was like, oh, okay, I'll do camera stuff. Cool. But basically, with the copper IUD, I had been a brief backstory with my health in my past. I've never been to a therapist. I've never had like depression ish. I mean, I guess I've gotten like um, sad over things in my life, but that have happened. But that's kind of the norm for people. I think when things happen, you can get kind of like hopeless about life for a while, but you get back up. I had the only kind of crazy health issue besides like well, I had scoliosis. I don't know what that is caused by, so I'm just gonna put that out there either. With everybody's like genes being different and everybody's biochemical makeup being different. I had vertigo when I was 20, and that, when I look back, I think was more of like a stress issue. And I was in college at the time, and I would get like dizzy all the time. And so they put me on a migraine medication, and I took that for like 3 years or something. But it just added to the confusion of like what was going on with the IED, like 100%. And it also, I think, played a role because when you have vertigo, if you have like stress, it'll wear out your adrenals. So if you're gonna try to deal with a heavy metal, it, like, I think was one of a player maybe in why this copper IED fucked me up. Although I'm reading other women's stories and I don't know, did they have anything wrong with their like thyroid or adrenal health or whatever. It's like, or is this just a product that's not, shouldn't be blanketed, or what is going on? But like this is a very real and serious issue that's with Paragard, and copper IUDs all over the world. So I imagine, I know Paragard is the American brand, and it's a tea that's like, there might be more copper on the tea than in like say like France or UK, where they use like the copper coil or Nova tea. So that one might have like just like a plastic tea and then copper just around the bottom, and then the copper IUD in America has like copper on two sides. I'm not sure if that was it or if it's just one of those things where you just get very unlucky with birth control. I just want to like tell women, if you want to get this IUD, want to try it, just look up copper toxicity symptoms and just make sure you're versed on, like, read other women's testimonials first. Is something that I did not do. I was looking for something that was not going to give me acne, because I had like really bad reaction to a estrogen birth control. And I look back at the time when I got this in, that was around the time that I had all this vertigo. But I'm not gonna go back in time and blame Yaz, even though like I've read other women's on there, they're like they gave them. I'm like, oh my god, like what is going on with female contraception world? Like what the hell is going on? Like, do we care about women at all? Anyways, not this isn't a this is not a video on the pill. But the pill I was on at that time gave me acne so bad. It was like not really even acne. It was like welty. Like, my friend looked at a picture of me and she's like, it looks like you're having an allergic reaction. So maybe if you're more of like a sensitive person, you're sensitive to like estrogen birth control and other types of uh, methods like that, like be very careful before getting the copper IUD. So copper IUD experience. So this is kind of like the chronological breakdown of like what happened. The first symptom I remember having is I went to on a trip to New York, and I had I'm one of those people that can like walk like everywhere. Like I can walk from like I live in LA, so I can walk from like Echo Park to Los Feliz like easy. And I love to walk. I'm a long distance walker. Like I can walk a lot. And this IED had me. I was in New York and I lived in New York now for like a year and I walked everywhere. So hold on, I'm gonna adjust this. Ah. I walked everywhere and I have no issues. So the first thing I remember is that I got so tired that I was in like a Macy's and I had to like sit down for like 3 hours and I would get like nauseous. But I was thinking, okay, maybe I've just gotten sick. Like, maybe I have the flu. And I would have like spotting and like really heavy bleeding for a while. And like that's kind of what they tell you is on the packaging, like you're gonna have really heavy bleeding. That's it. And cramps, which happen. But I then the first thing that was like really noticeable, the bleeding stopped pretty much, and I was like, oh great, I have my periods back. And what happened after that was that I started having paranoia of people's voices. So I would be like listening to people, and I'd be like, why is their voice bothering me so much? And I knew something was wrong. Like it wasn't like I'm not saying like people's voices were like annoying me, like ew, stop talking. It was like I was honing in on like the sound of their breath or like the sound of this or the sound of that, and it was like I couldn't get my mind to stop thinking about it. Like so it was just like blah, blah, blah. Stop thinking about it. And I was telling people like I don't know why your voice is bothering me. My friend's voice is bothering me. My partner's voice is bothering me. Like everything's bothering me. And I would just like start to like cry a lot. And I'm a pretty chill person and like doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm very like not give a f kind of a personality. And I had started first it was that, and then it was like I started having, and it was really, I didn't know how to tell people, and it's really hard to explain what was going on in my head. It was like I was having someone else's thoughts, like they were not my own thoughts. It was like the thoughts from the back of my head came, like how you can now, if I have a thought now, I can go, okay, I don't want to think about that right now. So let me like put it, they're all kind of like back in the back of your head. So they all moved to the front of my head and they became like really, really dark and like not like racing horror movie thoughts. And I was just thinking like, what if am I not a good person? Like what the hell's going on? Like I would have just paranoid that I was going to do something, or like paranoid that this was going to happen or this is going to happen, and like oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And like it was like I had other people's voices in my head that weren't mine, but like really visually. And I had at that point I was like, I gotta go to therapy. Like I had never been to a therapist before, and I was like, oh my god. So as therapists do, they start bringing up your past. So I was like trying to blame it on everything. I'm like, what is going on? And like when you go to therapy, that's like all they can really do as a therapist is like bring up your family history. So she like unopened this like can of worms on like, well, you if you fought with your mom a lot, like maybe you don't have a sense of self. And this copper IUD was making me like lose myself. Like I have never in my life like I didn't know who I was, like. And so I'm like blaming it on my mom. I'm not speaking to my mom. I'm like going manic, and it was insane. I don't even remember some of the stuff that I did, and I would just cry. I would be in like a bar, and I would be sitting there with a friend, and I would just have these like thoughts like ding ding ding, and I'd just start like paranoid, like asking her shit like da, 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 da. And like I was afraid that this was gonna happen or this, and they would just like not stop. Like all these fucking thoughts would just be like going like this and this and that, and I would just like break down and cry, and I'd be like just crying all the time. And it was very, very scary that I'd want to like call people. Like I felt like it was a whole nother person. Like I wasn't even me anymore. And I'd call people and I'd just be like panicked, like highly panicked, like like. And I would have just never associated it with the IUDs. I had gone to, but I knew this was so wrong. Like I knew something was wrong. And I went to urgent care and I got like blood tests done, and they were like, you look fine, like there's nothing in your blood. I find out later that to find uh, heavy metals in the body, blood testing isn't always accurate, and you need to have HTMA, hair mineral hair tissue mineral analysis, I think, tissue testing to find heavy metals. But I had no idea. I was not thinking about the IUD. They asked me if I was on like an antidepressant ever, or medication, like a medication. I would not have thought that to say, oh, I have a copper IUD. Um, so I was in urgent care, and I'm like, I'm extremely suicidal, and like I have no idea why. And they're like, you need to be on an antidepressant. I've never been on an antidepressant. I go to the psychiatrist. I'm like, I have to get something to stop all these thoughts. Like, I don't know where they're coming from. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I'm telling them all these crazy things. And they put me on like Zoloft. And honestly, it didn't. I thought it would help, or it was like not helping. And it was like, it didn't ever really slow down the thoughts, because it was this IUD was just going off, off, off. And I asked my gynecologist at one point, I go, hey, is anxiety possible with this, like this IUD? Because I started like looking into it a little, and like reading, you have to kind of go deep, like look into it, like copper IUD OCD or copper IUD schizophrenia, and like look up, those kinds of keywords. And when I was studying this IUD, like when I was doing research as to what do I want to try the copper IUD, I was looking for more of testimonials that said like copper IUD and acne. So I thought, okay, there's no acne as a side effect. Woohoo! I found a great, perfect product, because I don't want to have like some cystic acne again. But I would take the acne over this, but I will not do anything else to my body. I would have. I offered my body. I was like, I called the Paragard company after this, and she said that the bottom of the box says this is not a complete list of side effects. So sorry that happened to you. There is no complete list of side effects. Going back to the story, I had this. I still have the IUD in at this time. My boyfriend had broken up with me. Everybody had left my life. They're like, why are you acting so weird? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like freaking out constantly. And I had asked my gynecologist, I said, hey, is this IUD cause anxiety? Because this is the only thing I can think of that's happened since all this happened. And she's like, no, anxiety is not possible. It all stays in the uterus. And I was like, I took her word for it. Number one, how does that even sound scientific? I have no idea. But something in your body only stays in one place in the body. Like, does that ever really happen? I don't know. Just saying. But oh, I do know. But she had, so I kind of like took her word for it, and I kept it in a month longer. So at that point, I was asking people, because I would just have these like, the thoughts were like up here, and they were just like racing like all over the place, and they'd just be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And I'd be like, somehow I got onto like numbers or something, and I don't know, to try to explain it to you like it's a reasonable thing that was happening to me is like really difficult, because it wasn't. So I was thinking I was asking people if they thought I was part of like 9/11 and stuff. Like, it got really, really dark, like just really irrational things that I was saying, and they were like, and my friends were like trying to talk me down off a ledge. They were like, no, you're not, like, what the hell. And the thing that tipped me off I was gonna keep this thing, and I have no idea why, but I just kind of took my gynecologist's word for it. But I started reading up on it more, and I started going into like looking up women's testimonials, and they started having they were saying the same things, and they were saying, my doctor said it wasn't the IUD, and it was the IUD, so take it out. And I was like, okay, I started having, one night I had laid in bed, and like at this time everything was just going on so much. It was just making like all these different voices in my head, and like all this stuff, and it would make my body tense up like so much. And I had like hummingbird. I was laying in bed, and it was like heart murmurs, but it was like hummingbird fast, like. And I was like, this is not anxiety. This is like something else. Like this is beyond a normal like, oh, I'm, an anxiety. I don't even think this is an anxiety disorder. Like this is something really really wrong if I'm having like heart palpitations that are like hummingbird fast. So I went to my gynecologist. I said, this is happening, and she's like, are you in therapy? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, what are you going to do for birth control? And I said, honestly, I'm not in a relationship and everyone's left my life, so nothing. I'm not going to do anything. I'm like, I have to get everything out of my body and I got to figure out what's going on. So I took it, I had her take it out, and a lot of the symptoms were, I felt a little better, but it wasn't like it went away. Like it wasn't like some, oh, I just thought myself right back out of that. It was like I had a lot of like chelating the copper to do. That was the only thing all the symptoms that I had were under copper toxicity, or like the medical definition of copper toxicity. So I had to go around to like different doctors besides OBGYNs that had more of an understanding of metals and like mineral imbalances in human bodies. There have been like studies that have used rats, like I think certain times, and this is a human body that has had like copper toxicity. So I went to this place called, one of the places I went was the Hall Center in Santa Monica. So if you're a woman in like Southern California, is really great for kind of medicine that combines like allopathic and holistic. So they have like a lot of really good options that are like kind of a combination of both, so you can kind of get kind of all sides of the story, And she had seen this in women, so she had my I had blood work done, but it wasn't conclusive. So I bought online. I took the hair testing. That was when I was researching people who have researched women with this IUD. What they were saying was the protocol for like copper toxicity from the IUD, and I was like cutting my hair and stuff and like getting that tested, and I took zinc, selenium, and vitamin C, and this stuff called Pectisol C. So if any women have the same kind of thing with this IUD, that's a really great one to get yourself back. I did a lot of self kind of like, I knew I wasn't going to come out the same after this happened to me, sadly. I knew I was going to have to like accept that I lost a lot in that fire. Eventually, after the damage was so bad for me that it wasn't an easy fix. It was kind of like the doctor at the Hall Center she said in like 7 months you'll probably feel like yourself, and it was around that time. I would have kind of like on and off symptoms from it for like 7 months after I got it removed, but it was kind of just like a veil that lifted over time, especially when I started doing like the copper chelating protocols. That's what really helped. I think there needs to be way more studies in the safety of this IUD. I know a lot of women can go for like 40 years and not have symptoms, but it's kind of being given to women on a blanket approach. Like we don't test you first to look at like any kind of biological makeup of your body or your adrenal health. So I think that's really dangerous to do in like any medical practice. But also, this is a heavy metal, and I just think that every woman should be careful. End of the day, it's kind of in the same group of like how they paint it is like copper. You eat copper in your diet, yeah, but if you eat like chocolate, it's going through your body. It's not sitting and oxidizing in your uterus, and it's also a heavy metal. It's a metal. Like it's not really like, in a chocolate bar you'd have zinc and copper. In the chocolate bar you'd have other minerals that were like balancing out the copper in your diet. This IUD, not so much. And I think I can only tell you like what I went through. After 7 months, I was back to myself. I lost a lot in that fire. I lost a lot of like pieces of myself, I guess. It was kind of like, it was so dark in my head, and so much in my head. It was like all the thoughts eventually like moved back, but I lost a lot of my humor. I had to find like myself again in that way, and it just wasn't worth it for birth control, and something that's so unnecessary for human to just put something in their body like that. And it was a lot more than like having hormonal moodiness on the pill. This was really kind of hard to come back from, and it was really dark. So I just want to have that be like my word of caution to women on this ID. And I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just giving my what happened to me. So I'm had the IUD out. I got it taken out in June 2017. I've been completely symptom free for almost 2 years post IUD. It's like night and day. It was kind of funny because I kind of like, I'm a very spiritual person, and this whole experience kind of, I'm not saying go out and get this IUD and hope that you have side effects like this on there, but it kind of made me become more self-aware, and I think that that's a blessing. And I realized how valuable life really, really is, having gone through this, and how valuable your health is, and having like a sound mind is so, and a sound, like I was having heart stuff with it, like, and like, it was affecting just like my nervous system. So it's like having like yourself is really, really important. Having like autonomy over your life is really important. And I think I just urge women to consider, I know like love is such a beautiful thing, and you want to be like with someone, and you want to not use condoms, or you want to try this because you want to make them happy. And it's like, I just encourage women to just like your body. Number one, if a doctor is telling you one thing and you're like, this doesn't sound right, your body, and just like take that seriously. And also I just hate the birth control world now, I guess, but it works for some people. But just make sure you're doing things for you. And that's what I learned from this experience. Go do things for you, not because someone asked you to, or you just think, well, I'm just gonna go in and just trust this, and just do your research on, and take into account people who've had firsthand experience with things, because I think that's the most valuable thing. Because you just don't, before this I did not take that kind of stuff seriously. And do your research, look at all sides, and if you want to get this IUD, it's your body, just make sure you do read the horror stories, not to be scared, but just to be aware. Because if I had done that, I could have said at the very beginning, oh, I read this, I read a girl that it was going like this in her head, and oh, that she said it was the IUD, and I did it way into the product, and I could easily not be here, you know what I'm saying? And it was like dark, but it had gotten to a point where I was just not, you know what I mean? So I just say, do the research, read everything, and don't discredit a firsthand experience or a woman, and just do your research. Everybody is different, and your body. And yeah, I cannot be an advocate for this IUD. And I appreciate the women wanting to take control of their health and have like birth control, and like not want to have to do anything or rely on the guy or have anything like that. But I just think that your health is like so much more important, and it's more important than just some trial and error thing where you're just trying to like try things. And this one, if this goes bad, it goes really, 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 really bad. And yeah, I just wanted to put my video out there because I saw another girl's video and a blog post, and I was like, maybe I'll write a blog post, but I kind of just like videos better. So I think I covered everything. How I'm doing now is like I'm doing great. It actually was cool because because for me it was kind of like dying and resurrecting in your own body. It's like, because I just lost myself so hard in it. It's like it was other people's voices in my head, so it was kind of just um like kind of a, what I was saying before, like I'm really self-aware now, and I'm kind of going after dreams and things. But I will say I did lose a lot of like kind of, I don't know, but some of the bad stuff died too. You know, you develop some confidence, and the only way to really like get it yourself together after this is to really love yourself and love God, love God, please. And I became a Christian during this too, and you know, that's my view. That's a whole nother video I can post on Christianity. But yeah, just have, you know, be read everything before you um, put anything in your body. This is like a low level operation, I guess, right? And you know, watch the bleeding edge, like watch things. I know this has been around since the 70s, but I kind of think that they've ignored women in, I'm not sure, because they've probably, I'm not sure why the FDA hasn't done anything. I gave my testimonial. If anything, you know, women love this product, you know, whatever, they need to put something on the side effects list. Having small print at the bottom of the box of Paragard that says this is not a complete list of possible side effects is so dangerous. I don't know how they're getting away with that, and I imagine that's why it's so hard to sue them. I've tried to have a lawsuit. I've tried to find someone to take my case on this. I'm in a class action lawsuit with some women, or I tried to sign up, but a lot of the lawyers, you know, it's kind of time consuming, and there's not really, I'm fine now, and there wasn't any broken pieces and, you know, surgery that had to happen, so it's kind of a hard one for them to want to pick up, and it's not like an easy shot to like, yeah, we're gonna take, you're gonna win this. And I think that fine print where it says this is not a complete list of possible side effects might be why it's so hard to sue this company. And I just want to warn women, and if anyone's watching this around the world as well, I've read like, I know it's like Paragard is specifically American, but it is copper, so you're gonna have similar things happening. I've read a few similar stories from like France and the UK and Germany and Austria, so it's happening everywhere, but I'm not so sure what they tell you or what their pamphlets say. I can only speak from the one I got in the United States. So I feel like I said it all. You can feel free to leave a comment. That was my story. I'm doing cool stuff after that happened to me, so I'm not too upset, but it was really hard to get over the loss that I lost a lot of people, and it broke up a lot of friendships, and it was really hard on my family because I was in therapy trying to do like Freudian psychology, like why is she lost herself, like what, you know, whatever they were trying to say was like, let's look at your family life, like when you first go into therapy, like what's your family life like. So that was how it got very confusing. And yeah, so if you're sensitive to stuff, I would say like not this ID. If you've had problems with estrogen birth control in the past, not this ID. It can affect your emotions, and they're not really talking about that. And I would just say not this IUD in the first place. But I get so many pro IUD women that are so upset because this is their favorite one, and you're keeping women from wanting to have this. And it's just like, I don't know, dude. You could have this for like 5 years and have no problems, and then you might have problems at some point with it. Who, you know, it's kind of like Russian roulette with your body, and I just think women deserve better, like a lot better. And I just want to make this video. It's my personal story. I keep thinking, I'm like, maybe I'll forget something, maybe I want to say something later, but I think I've said it all. And yeah, just be careful out there, and a lot of love. Bye.